Good day, it's Thursday, it's SportsDaz.ie and welcome here to SportsDaz Football, our weekly look at all matters regarding the big ball, whether it's in Ireland or Australia. I'm Darren Kelly, and first we'd like to wish everybody a belated happy St. Patrick's Day. If you didn't hear any of our shows during the week, we hope you had a good day Wednesday. Yes, it's different. Yes, we're restricted. And yes, it's very, very hard. But hopefully it's not for too much longer. We have to believe that soon we'll be back getting out and about, back going to games and back looking forward to watching football matches. We have a very, very big show for you this week. Coming up later on, we are going to be talking to the new Ladies Gaelic Football Association President Mícheál Naughton. We'll be talking to Mícheál about his hopes and his ambitions for his 4-year term. And he'll also talk to us about some of the big talking points recently, including split seasons, mergers, Camogie, and that infamous game between Galway and Cork last December. That is coming up later on. Joanne Doonan will also be with us as we look ahead to round 8 of the AFL Women's Series. We're down to the penultimate round. The ladder taking shape. Nobody's mathematically qualified yet. We'll talk more about that later on, including naming our Irish Player of the Week. So plenty to talk about. First, let's look at the news over the last 7 days. As mentioned, Mícheál Naughton, the new LGFA Uachtaráin, will be with us later on to talk about all those things. A player pathway programme announced this week between the GAA, the Camogie Association and the LGFA. A very important development, it must be said. It's mainly geared towards the club and participation, but it's great to see the three organisations working together. Of course, it's only a first step of sorting out things down the line, but every step is important. One person who was at that launch was Vicky Wall from Meath, the LGFA Intermediate Players Player of the Year. We'll be hearing from Vicky on this show next week. Vicky Wall from Meath, one of the people at the Player Pathway Programme launch during the week. Moving along, great news here for Derry Ladies Football. A new kit deal with O'Neill's for 4 years. It's one of a number of announcements. Heron Brothers involved in underage as well. Very, very important. Look, at the end of the day, it's no secret that Derry have struggled at inter-county level in particular. But you have to start somewhere, and there's been good work being put into Derry football at the moment, and we wish them the very, very best of luck with that, because like any county in the country, you want to see fortunes turn for the better, and if Derry can get more competitive. Now look, when I say that, results might have gone against them, but they were close to winning All-Ireland junior title a couple of years ago, so who knows what will happen. We wish everyone there the very best luck. Also, Intersport Elveries sponsoring the Mayo teams across the board. We were given a press release on this before talking just about football, but it includes ladies football as well. So brilliant news from Mayo again. No different to Derry, even Limerick Camogie. Mayo football seem to be motivated to make things better. Not saying they weren't better beforehand, but they're making things better. They're working hard, and great announcement that Elveries there continued their sponsorship of Mayo LGFA as well as Mayo football. Stephen Horry is the new Laois under-16 manager. We wish Stephen the best of luck for 2021. We are confident there will be an under-16 All-Ireland Championship win. Can't give the answer, but Laois are putting all their names together now for the underage teams. Big move in Dublin here. Cliona O'Connor, former All-Ireland winning goalkeeper with the Metropolitans, has joined Mick Bohan's backroom team for 2021. Needless to say, she will bring plenty of experience. One of the pioneers of Dublin football through the hard days, got her All-Ireland in 2010. Missing out on the golden run they're having at the moment, but she will play a big part. And I've no doubt Ciara Trant and everybody involved in goalkeeping in Dublin will be happy to see her involved. Dublin are determined to complete their drive for 5 this year. It'll be interesting to see, but we'll be following it all the way. And congratulations to Cliona. News from Galway. The rumour mill had been out there the last couple of weeks, but was confirmed at the weekend. Sinéad Burke, two-time All-Star defender with Galway, has called time on her inter-county career. Sinead represented Galway for 14 seasons, won 9 Connacht titles, 2 as captain. Has a tremendous success. She's from Uachtaráin in Galway, has played for Killannon, represented Ballybodin, St Enda's in Dublin for years, and won a county senior title with Armagh Harps up in the Orchard County last year. I don't think there's plans for her to draw a lot in with Armagh, but She's been a great servant to Galway football, and we wish Sinéad the very, very best of luck in her inter-county retirement. Congratulations to everybody involved in Roscommon football as they finished their 100k for Roscommon LGFA. 6,200 kilometres were completed in total by everybody involved. And I want to give a particular shout out to John Fitzmaurice, who did 462 kilometres himself. That's serious commitment to the cause, and well done, John. I always consider it a great achievement when I complete 4 kilometres, which I do regularly enough, I must admit. But 462, that is great going, and well done to everybody involved in that. Just want to mention the Na Fianna ladies in Kildare. They're having a fundraiser this weekend. 600 kilometres north to south challenge in one day. All virtual, of course. But if you're from Kildare, connections with Na Fianna Club, please support them. As we've mentioned on Camogie shows and previous editions of this show, everybody doing their bit to fundraising different times and some unique ideas coming out, and well done to everyone in Na Fianna. West Cork are the West Cork Sports Star Team of the Year. County champions for the first time ever. Amalgamation of players from divisional clubs. We've talked about the trials they're going through at the moment in regards to trying to defend their title, but wonderful to see the acknowledgement. I can give you an exclusive here now. In the next few weeks, we can't give you the date yet, but in the next few weeks we will be having Melissa Duggan as a guest on the Fair Green. So keep an eye out for that around the end of this month. Melissa Duggan from Cork, an upcoming guest on the Fair Green here on SportsDaz. And finally, before we wrap up, I wished everybody a happy belated St. Patrick's Day. To all the mammies, happy belated Mother's Day. I include my own mother Josephine and that, and of course my own partner Sinéad, mother of our children. Happy belated Mother's Day to ye. I know my own family, well, I like to think that they were happy with their day out, but to all the mammies around football, camogie, Aussie rules, hope you had a great day in your family, spoiled ye rotten. Look out, modern LGFA social media, Isabel de Burke. A lovely tribute for all the mammies as well, and I think it's worth checking out. So that's all the news regarding football this week. Coming up later on, we'll be hearing from Fermanagh All-Ireland winner and ex-Carlton player Joanne Doonan as we look ahead to round 8 of the AFL Women's Series. We look back at last week, we'll name our Irish Player of the Week, and we preview 2 big games coming up. Brisbane Lions against the North Melbourne Kangaroos, as well as the Fremantle Dockers, who take on the Melbourne Demons. That's coming up later on, but after the break, the new LGFA President Mícheál Naughton is with us, talking about Donegal, his aims, his hopes, the upcoming 50th anniversary, and he also addresses the big issues that have happened in recent months regarding Galway versus Cork, mergers, camogie and split seasons. That's coming up after the break. Uachtaráin LGFA Mícheál Naughton.
I like listening SportsDaz because I like to listen to ladies football and ladies camogie.
Now I'm delighted to be joined by new Uachtaráin of the LGFA, Mícheál Naughton. And Mícheál, first, congratulations on your appointment and thank you very much for joining us here on SportsDaz Football.
Thank you, Darren, and thanks to your listeners. Yes, it was a very enjoyable weekend, a weekend that I'm hugely proud of to be leading our association, and not alone as a proud from myself, but also from a Donegal perspective and Ulster, that being Ulster president, and that's hugely here for us up in Donegal and Ulster.
You're a gentleman that typifies everything LGFA, from managing to committees you've served on too, but I suppose a year ago when you were elected in Loughrea, it's a completely different world now, not just football-wise, for the one that you came into in 2020 when you knew your election was coming.
Yes, Darren, you're 100% right. Nobody, foreseen, like March last year, was the last weekend that basically anything was open. We're probably lucky that Congress had taken place, but nobody's seen what was coming down the road, and nobody's seen the 2020 that we have seen. And as we have missed an awful lot in sports, Darren, for people, but again, for the people that lost a loved one, I suppose it's a bigger loss than sports. And hopefully, please God, in 2021, we get back on the playing field again and we get people out playing sports. But I want to send on my sympathies to those that have lost a loved one in 2020. But look, looking back on 2020, and it's very hard to find positives, but if there's 2 positives you would find from 2020, Betty, was the importance of the club and the club structure. And also, like ourselves here, we're talking on Zoom today. But I mean, the importance of technology and how technology has developed over the last number of years. And I mean, but also in the last year, how much people have come onto it. And now, as an organisation, we were able to give courses to people sitting in their own living rooms. And I think that's, a positive step forward out of 2020, and it's something that we will build on going forward in my term as presidency, to give people more courses, and they can do them, and within the numbers. Basically, if you ran a course in 2018 or 2019, you might be lucky if you got 15 to 20 people attending these courses in person. But I mean, on some of the courses we had online, we had over 120 people. So that just speaks volume. That means there is an appetite there for people. Time is precious. I mean, if you can do it in your own home, why not? And hopefully it'll bring more people into our association. It'll get more people to know about our association and be able to help our association going forward.
And it is like, I get alerts every time this ladies football posts something up on Twitter, and it's loads of different courses taking place every single day of the week. And as you said, the LGFA have given the opportunity for people to develop their own training, their own interest in the game through whatever means, whether it's a player, whether it's an official, a coach, whatever the case may be. There's so many options up there that I suppose, if anything, we probably appreciate what technology can give us now.
Yes, exactly. And you're right in saying, I mean, that's one thing I would say to anybody that's interested in the Ladies Gaelic Association. There's a place and a part for everybody in our association. Let you be coming in at nursery level, basically to go games for mothers or basically, administration. I mean, there is a place. I mean, our doors are open. I mean, we welcome everybody, and the more people that we get involved in our sports, we'll maintain it and help it basically to develop it into the future. And I think these courses will be a huge plus in that, because there's a lot of people feels they cannot do this or don't know how to do this or are they capable of it. But I mean, if they get the course online and show them basically, let it be a chairperson, let you be a secretary, or let you be a volunteer, or even a coach. And that mean, there's courses there to suit everybody. And I think that's important. I mean, the help and support is there. And we want more people to get involved in volunteers, in coaches, and basically to help our younger generations and bring them through that.
Yeah, exactly too, because even a couple of years ago when I was lucky enough to receive a volunteer award too, I mentioned about working from the grassroots level, and it defines what the LGFA have become, like the fastest growing women's sport in Europe, probably in the world. And even as you mentioned yourself, and 5 years ago you might have been, I won't say laughed at, but people would have questioned you. It's very, very believable now that a full house for All-Ireland Finals Day could happen in the next 4 years.
Yes, and that would be our goal. And I mean, this didn't happen by accident, Darren. I mean, and great credit has to go to our sponsors over the years and what they did for our association. And we had a slogan for 2020, and I mean, and the slogan was, if you can't see it, you can play it, and that's very important. But I mean, a special thank you would have to go to Little for the amount of sponsorship they have given and basically for promoting our games. And you just look at the ad at the moment on RTE, level the playing field, had touch, and accord with everybody at home and abroad. And I think it's huge for our association. And it basically, it basically sums up our association as well. That we want to level the playing field. We want to get to the top of that hill, and that's our goal. And if you look at 2018, we had 51,000 in Cork Park. 2019, we had 56,000. And that's down to basically Little and Tina G and the Ladies Gaelic Association for all the tremendous work and advertising, and again the promotion of our games. And over my next 4 years, I will want to see more of that development, and hopefully see RTE coming in and giving us more coverage as well, because the more coverage we get, the more exposure that we get, it's what we'll do for our game. And again, Betty was working with the GAA and Camogie, and development at a giant umbrella. I mean, it's going to be huge for our association going forward.
And Mícheál, you're perfectly positioned to comment on that, because in 2010 you managed your county Donegal to an All-Ireland intermediate title, and you would have seen the difference in the crowds, the razzmatazz about All-Ireland Finals Day from, say, 2010 going to 2019, because understandably 2020 was different.
Yes, Darren. I mean, and that's what I was saying about our association. It's about if you see it and that mean you want to get involved. I mean, 2010 was a huge turning point for ladies football in Donegal, because basically the crowds that we came out to visit us, and basically it put ladies football on the map probably in Donegal going forward, that 2010 All-Ireland. But you're right, Darren. going back then, I mean, what we came to, like, Betty, we weren't getting into the county grounds then. We weren't, getting into the centre of excellence. And Betty, people started back up, and people seeing that, girls were putting in the same amount of time, the same amount of effort as men. I mean, and then, Betty, people start to appreciate it. We started at the grassroots level, at the club level, building it up, and, the one club structure, which has been huge for our association. But now here, like in Donegal and other counties, now we're into the centre of excellence. We're getting into the county ground. We're getting on before men's games, and it's a huge plus for our association, and that's what it takes. And hopefully we'll see more of that. And my goal would be at county level, at Betty, you'd have the ladies county final maybe on the same day as the men, but before the curtain raiser, to the GS final. So I mean that's Betty, what we'll be looking at and dreaming at, because Betty, the more that we get out there, the more people see in our sports, and anybody that sees it, really enjoys it. It's a fast, open flowing game, and again, there's some wonderful scores. I mean, and these girls have put in so much time and so much effort, and they're putting in the same amount of training, so they deserve the same as everybody else.
They certainly do indeed. Just keeping your Donegal hat on for a moment, Mícheál, of course, you were back to get them promoted to Division 1 in 2016. They've been knocking on the door. Some people, maybe myself included, have suggested they might have underachieved. Where do you see the Donegal senior team at the moment, and can they get over the line?
Yes, Darren, you're right. Yeah. And I think I might have said it in one interview. I mean, the probably regret that I have that in 2017, I became a county councillor in Donegal, and I stepped back from manage the ladies. That year, as you remember, 2016, Betty, we won the Division 2 title. And then Betty, 2017, we got to the National League title against Cork. And it probably was one of the games of the year. And I mean, we lost to Cork by a point. And, I felt that we should have won that game. But I felt that, Betty, we're on. I mean, if we stuck at another year, we probably could have achieved an All-Ireland. Again, I think, Betty, Donegal have the calibre, they have the players there that it's getting back up again, getting out there, and the belief. I mean, Donegal are not far away. There's no doubt about that. They're probably one of the top four counties in Ireland at the moment. But I mean, it's all about belief. It's all about putting in work. And, like the Corks and the Dublins have that bit of experience, and, they know how to win out games and that sort of stuff. And that's the extra inches and steps that we have to take in Donegal, probably as a county, to get over the line. Because, it's a crochet basically of the saying, winning games, you have that little bit of belief and that sort of stuff. And when it comes down to tight measures and getting over the line, the Corks and Dublins have that little bit more experience. And that's something in Donegal that, we have to come that extra inch. And I don't think, we're far away. And, we'll put it up to any of them, I think, this year, if we get the opportunity.
Be a great moment for yourself if it happens over the next 4 years. But of course, what is happening over the next 4 years as well, Mícheál, is the 50th anniversary of the LGFA. A lot of people don't realise this is a very, very young organisation that has made great strides, we've talked about already, and you're going to be overseeing that in 2024.
Yes, I mean, we came into reception in 1974. I mean, it's a young organisation, an organisation that had made huge strides. And, I suppose great credit has to go to our CEO, Helen O'Rourke, and the staff she's working under. And again, to our clubs and the grassroots of our association. Because, I mean, with everybody working together, everybody pulling in the right direction, we have built this. And, this is not about Mícheál Naughton or one person. I mean, our association is a lot bigger than that. And again, it's a great credit to everybody that has it. I am just delighted. I am the president of this great association at the moment. And I'm well aware that many persons that didn't get the opportunity, that had done our association so much work and so much pride down to the years. And I want to rest assured them people that I'm here representing them as well. But I mean, 2024 will be a big year for our association. 50, as you say, I mean, our numbers in the last decade, Betty, have overly doubled that. I mean, we nearly have 2,000 members, 200,000 members at the moment. We'd like to increase that. It's a work in progress. I mean, we're still not the finished article. There is still more to do, and we hopefully we keep at that Betty make sure that we keep ladies football to the forefront and Betty Irish sport.
And certainly that has been the case as well. And of course, as we mentioned about the forefront and how big ladies football has become, of course, it brings its challenges as well. And as you understand, there's been a few talking points in the last few months. And I suppose one again that came up recently after Helen O'Rourke's report at Congress, and Tim Rabbit, the former Galway manager, responding, was the events surrounding the All-Ireland semi-final on December the 6th, which gave a lot of negative publicity to the LGFA. What are your thoughts on that? And what can be learned from that to ensure that a situation like that doesn't occur again?
Yes, Darren, you're right. And I mean, but I mean, we got to put everything into context. And, as we said to already in our interview, 2020 was no ordinary year. I mean, but that's not getting away from the point. I mean, there was no winners here to tell you the truth. I mean, but look, I mean, if we think for one day that we have nothing to learn as an association, we're going down the wrong road. Of course, there's always stuff that we can do better. There's always stuff that we can do better. And again, in relation to this incident, that mean it was a time of year, it was limited on time. I mean, unfortunately, for everybody, it got such bad press for our association because our association, we were very professional. We set out to strive to basically give the best professional to our players, put them in the best pitches, put them in the best grounds, and unfortunately this did happen. As you basically we alluded to, 2019 basically was the first time that basically our All-Ireland semi-finals were in Croke Park. If this was an ordinary year, our All-Ireland semi-finals were in Croke Park. But just come back to the day itself, Darren. Unfortunately, I mean, the pitch was frozen in that. Again, basically, I mean, each manager was spoken to, each county board was spoken to in relation to this. They were given the option to move the game back. We tried to work with them, make sure they're happy. On the day, we felt that they were happy to go ahead with the game. And as an organisation, looking back in hindsight, there's all the things you might have done different. But as far as a situation that we're in that morning and the time frame, that basically, we felt that we did the best that we could have done. Again, as I say, I mean, the worst bit related to this was a championship game. We know in national leagues many times, the pitch froze up or the pitch waterlogged and gave the call off, and there isn't a much issue on it. Again, the time frame, Betty, if this was another day, it would be put back off. And and they were offered that, the county boards and the managers, to put the game back another week, but the time frame was very tight and they wanted to go ahead with the game. But I mean, look, there is lessons to be learned. There's things we can do better, and we know that.
And of course, it should be acknowledged as well that you had moved it from original dates. And I promise this is the last question I'm asking it. In hindsight, should the question have been asked about a 1:30 start originally rather than the game being brought forward half an hour?
Darren, and hindsight, and you alluded to there already. I mean, this game was changed. This game should be on the 2 weekends prior to that, because it was changed for the dual players, and that for the Cork ladies, because they playing Camogie. So we moved the game then. Again, I mean, moving the time back, and I mean, I think that, the question might have been asked. I'm not 100% sure, but I mean, I know there was basically time with RTE and time, frames in relation to that. But look, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I'm not trying to wipe it off the slate or anything, but I mean, if we keep looking back, we don't move forward. And, as far as I'm going to say, I mean, here's to 2021, here's to a better year, and here's to Betty. Was putting, maybe the wrong that might have been there better in 2021.
And that's exactly going forward now as well. And just two questions on that. Of course, as you mentioned, the game had to be moved from the original date. And it was something I commented on as well. So I'm asking the question directly. Both the Camogie Association and the LGFA had their senior All-Ireland semi-finals booked for the same day. Is that something that needs to be avoided again? Because surely it's it's not helping either organisation. I know we can't avoid all dual issues. I'm not suggesting that, but certainly that situation occurring led, I suppose, started a chain of events that ultimately put you in this position.
Yes, and that mean, and that's Betty. I want to build on the collaboration between the GA and Camogie, and I think Betty, there is huge ground, and that's what I'm saying, and that's why Betty it's important that because I mean the biggest thing probably in relation to collaboration is the fixtures, because I mean we're all fighting nearly for the same pitches, we're all nearly fighting for the same grounds. That so it is vitally important, Darren. That mean that we don't have clashing of grains there. But again, that is something I would work along with Helen, meeting these giant bodies and making sure that basically we don't have these problems going forward. And I think basically, going together as an association, these are the things that we will iron out. These are the things that will eliminate these problems in the future. Because it's important going forward that we have standalone dates for all these games.
And it is important as well that big occasions like that don't clash, as you mentioned. What are your thoughts? And of course, a lot of players now are coming out talking about the mergers between the GAA, the Camogie Association, the LGFA. Do you think that this could become a dominant team during your term? And what is your opinion on it?
Yes, and as I said, there's huge, talks going on between the GAA and Camogie, and next week, we'll be launching the Gaelic Players Pathway, which is a huge initiative between the three parties, and that, and again, this is the way forward, and there's so much work going on behind the scenes that basically, people don't see or realise, and I definitely think in my term as president, we'll be a lot closer. Will we be over the finishing line? That will be the big question. But there's a lot of things we have to think of. There's a lot of things we have to get right, because in the Ladies Association we have senior teams, we have intermediate teams, and we have junior teams, and we have to make sure what's for the senior is for the junior team as well. We have to bring all together. We can't just go off with our senior teams and forget about our junior team. The last thing that we want, basically, that we put pressure on county boards or clubs that basically they kind of to take part or put teams out and that. So there is a bit, a lot there that it's been done. There's a lot happening, but we have to make sure that we're all in it together and we're bringing all clubs at the same pace. Because you rightly see that bit, the sponsorship maybe some of the senior counties get, and that the junior clubs our counties are not getting the same sponsorship, and that's basically what we have to work at. It's level right across all teams.
Because as you say, Mícheál, there is things to iron out. You've acknowledged that already in the interview too. But the three organisations can coexist if we can just iron out a few of these little issues that have come up over the last couple of years.
Yes, and as I'm saying, before this bit, if you got involved in the Lady Gaelic Association or you got involved in the GAA, you had to do different courses. This Gaelic Player Pathway now is basically, let you be a boy or girl coming through the club gates, you get the same coaching, you get the same training. And advancing on from the Gaelic players, then there'll be the Gaelic Coaches Association. So each coach will be trained, let you be dealing with males or females, that basically, they all get the same training, we all getting the same basically progression along the way to make them the best that they can be in their sport, and that's very important. And I think basically there is a number of things that we have to tweak, there's a number of things that we have to get right, and I'm hoping in my 4 years as president we'll have most of them sorted out.
Final one of those points before we wrap up, Mícheál. A split season has become another dominant team. Now, I know we can throw out the original provisional calendar for 2021, but it was commented that there wasn't a split season in the LGFA. The GAA have passed it now for 2022. Is this inevitable that it's going to happen, and should it happen as soon as possible, or what's your opinion?
Yes, and probably my start of my interview, Darren, I said to you about the one positive thing that came out of 2020 was the club. And I think basically, it was proven that unfortunately our fixture plan for 2021 will have to be torn up and thrown out. But basically, when we had it originally done, that was the first time ever in the history of our association that we had standalone time for the club. Yes, I can see that. I'm sure there will be more debates, and I can see basically that definitely the club will always have a standalone period, any fixtures plan going forward. Will it be a full split season? That's the question that will be out there. I'm sure it will be debated again in the coming years. And if that's what the people and our association decide, well, I'd be only too happy to carry it through.
Because I do acknowledge you did give a 2-month club window and no inter-county training for one of those months. So you did give a period of time. But I suppose because the GAA now are suggesting, if the world is okay in 2022, that's going to be county and club, 2 separate windows. Is it inevitable that the LGFA will have to follow that road? As you're saying, you look at it, you'll consider it as you go along.
Yes, well, no more than the GAA, no different in the Ladies Association. Players were put under pressure, and the last thing we want basically is players not to be put under pressure. We also want to get the balance right between club player and county player, and every player basically and it's great to go on and wear the county jersey and represent your county. But at the end of the day, the club is the hub, and that's where the heart starts. That's where you start off, and you want to play with your own girls. You want to play for your own parish, and the club is very deep in the blood and that. So basically, those players basically saying, "Oh, you cannot play with your club, and you can't county want you." And I think basically that kind of pressure will if we go for the split season, it can help players, and it can basically give standalone time for girls to play with their clubs and represent their clubs. And definitely, I can see that coming down the road. I mean, because definitely to be fair to everybody and to coaches and that, but also to county boards, and it probably is a point that a lot of people are not talking about. But I mean, for finance wise, you run the county, Betty, from January to December, and most of the money is spent maybe on your county teams. That's why basically now they're betting more might be able to go back into your club teams, and that because we all know what it's costing to run county teams and the financial strain it is. So definitely that's an issue that basically would be a huge kind of positive for county boards.
Certainly we will watch with interest as well. Before we wrap up, Mícheál, you've mentioned already we hope for a full house for All-Ireland final day. I certainly would love to see that happen. If I was to ask you one or two other things in particular you'd love to see happen over the next 4 years, what would they be?
And that, well, definitely, as I say, I mean, I want to make sure that basically we retain our county players, get more of our county players back involved in our association. I would like to see basically a closer merger with the GAA and Camogie, and that nearly over the line. Also, as I previously said, I want to see basically the use of technology and us building on it, basically that we get our word out there. And of course, basically the big one is basically, it's the coverage of our sports. I mean, and to build our sponsors that we have and continue that into the future and get more visibility of our games and more coverage of our games, leading to us basically having, it's nice to have a full house in Croke Park, but I want to see that down at club level and our county finals, that basically, we're getting the crowds out there, because if it starts in the clubs and the counties, I've no doubt it will happen in Croke Park also.
I like listening to SportsDaz because he has famous celebrities and I get to listen to him. Darren Kelly.
So welcome back now, and it's time Joanne Doonan joins us again as we look ahead to the penultimate round of the AFL Women's Series, round 8 now. Joanne, again, every week we say it's taking shape, but while last week when we were talking, we were talking about the margins of results, there were some exciting matches this week and some massive results.
Oh, absolutely. I think there was a few, I think even last week when we were trying to make a call who would come out on top, that they were tight, but there was a lot even I was still shocked over, and even shocked at how other teams, I suppose, maybe you'd say didn't turn up or didn't play well, but definitely an exciting game for weekend. Every morning I was waking up and excited to kind of look at it. It wasn't like last week with the Hammerons, but no, brilliant game. Like you said, it's kind of, I suppose, starting to take shape, but it's definitely next week's going to be the next 2 weeks. It's going to be very, very interesting to see who kind of nabs last, I suppose, 5th and 6th spots for the finals. So it's definitely going to be in for an interesting one. Let's get it said right now. Poor Carlton. Oh, I can't. Honestly, I clicked on and just, I suppose seemed to be leading the whole game and, genuinely looked in control. And then that just lasts at, 2 goals nearly straight after each other and just kind of set them for back, that it was just kind of too late at that stage to kind of crawl it back. But again, you'd be kind of looking like, will they be fit to pull it back even? They're sitting at 8th place at the minute, so they do have 2 very winnable games next. I think they've Suns and who was the last one actually? I think it was Giants. You'd think maybe that they would be fit to come out on top of that one, but again, you really just don't know, don't you, what way it's going to work. But yeah, I can believe the steal from it. All the results are up on SportsDaz.ie, but just to talk about Carlton Fremantle, they finished Carlton 41, Fremantle 45, but with 5.5 minutes to go, Carlton were 14 points in front, a game they needed to win because they're mathematically still in the race, but really it's just mathematically now the door could open up, but in 2 minutes, the Dockers reminded everyone that they were title contenders. Oh yeah, and I think that kind of showed tenacity of the Fremantle players, they just kind of didn't give up, and I suppose we say here to the final whistle. But I think they were getting a lot of backlash, I think, with the paired press. I heard this week that, they're a very ruthless team and they seem to, they do anything to win. And I think even when the Freo girls got the goal and, was roaring up in the Carlton woman's face, it just kind of shows that just, I suppose, how much it meant to them too. But, they're a ruthless team and, they're not going to leave anyone. If you're caught sleeping, they're going to punish you. So I think that's exactly what they done at the weekend. It was a massive result, probably the biggest result of the competition so far. Another big result, Brisbane against Collingwood. The Magpies finally beaten. Brisbane dominated this game. The first quarter alone, 10 scores and only 2 of them goals. Yet Collingwood will be kicking themselves. They didn't sneak it at the end. Yeah, 100%. Again, another fantastic game, nail biting stuff. But like we said, there were two kind of tactically minded teams, and I think Brisbane, I suppose, showed it before against Freo as well, that they have the capability to kind of, I suppose, mark up teams and matchups, or they have very good matchups and who they put who on. And I think maybe a few of the Collingwood players just didn't get it as easy as they did in other games, and it kind of showed. And like we said about the Brisbane defence, like they were absolutely fantastic again at the weekend. But when you see them wee forwards that just nipping in and getting them scores whenever you need them most, I kind of think it did put Collingwood on the back foot a bit. But like you said, it was still nip and tuck, and they could have easily snuck it in that last few kicks of the game. And again, another good performance from Aisling Sheridan. It's just unfortunate that they didn't kind of see out the results then.
Aisling Sheridan on the scoreboard, another brace as well it was. We have 3 teams in 24 now. You'd imagine they're safe: the Dockers, the Lions and the Magpies. The table up on SportsDaz. Joanne, let's go on to our moment of the week. I'll tell you mine in a moment, but I want to hear yours first.
Okay, well, mine was actually Aileen Gilroy's save on the line, against Kristen McLeod. I think even getting friendly with Macca, the caller, through Aisling Sheridan, and just kind of knowing how quick she is, and then seeing Aisling come out of nowhere at the bottom, Aileen coming out of nowhere at the bottom of the screen, and just completely, I suppose, cleaning her out of it. Really, I think she just kind of got a shock when she seen Aileen coming. And I suppose a fantastic save on the side on the end line, but that was definitely a moment of the week for me,
If there was ever proof how tough our footballers at home are, was that, because even afterwards when the contact was made, Aileen, it was like as though she didn't realise anything had happened. She just went to get the ball and they kind of turned around. Oh, your one's down.
I know. She's a tank. She is so solid. And even the speed of her, Jesus, all the Mayo one. There could have been a few, even in the West Coast game. The link-ups between the Irish girls. It's actually fantastic to watch, and it's great to see them having such a massive impact on the game and putting their names out there. So it's brilliant.
He wants to talk as well, and so many people retweeting that since. That was the moment of both our moments of the week. Game of the week?
Again, mine was probably between the Carlton Freo game and the Collingwood Brisbane game. Again, 2 very tight games that could have went either way, and I think a wee bit more so the Carlton Freo, because Carlton had to play a lot more for it. They were dependent on the win that wee bit more, that it was just that wee bit more shocking. And unfortunate, I suppose, for them because they came that close. But yeah, that was probably the game of the week for me now. Yeah.
I have to say, for me, as tough as it was to result, it was probably the game of the competition, just the significance of it as well.
Yeah.
Definitely up there with the Kangaroos against the Demons a few weeks back. We're agreeing with each other so far. How will we agree on player of the week?
Mine probably this week, and I think you mentioned it before, but definitely deserves some recognition for her impact as well. And even like you said, I suppose the team shouldn't determine what your individual performance, I suppose, but I thought Niamh Kelly was just outstanding at the weekend, and her link-ups, she's just one of them players that you're watching and you kind of be like, she was only down the field 2 minutes ago, and she was, back up the other end, either, helping out in defence, being that link-up player, getting her speed, her read of the ball, even that ball that Aisling Sheridan kicked into her, that she just beat the defender for speed and got a goal straight away. She was very, very good to watch, and it's just great to see her kind of building confidence each week and just kind of showing, I suppose, the potential that is within the West Coast club. Yeah, so it's I think she definitely deserves recognition this week.
Before we came on air, myself and Joanne were talking about St. Patrick's Day and pints of Guinness, and we hope you all had a great St. Patrick's Day on yesterday. But you'd probably be thinking that we're sitting down having a drink or two, because we're agreeing with each other, because I have it here in front of me too. I've also picked Niamh Kelly from West Coast Eagles, 18 disposals, 2 goals. Yeah. Of course, Grace gained 2 goals too, but of course it'd be remiss. Every week we seem to be talking about Cora. And
I know.
After 4 goals a few weeks ago. Didn't the Australian commentators writing her off? She comes back again and scores a hat-trick. And it takes an awful lot to beat Cora. But Niamh, not just her performance alone in the big victory against Geelong Cats, but she was doing it back-to-back. And as Joanne said, we probably didn't give her enough recognition before. A deserving pick as well. So I think it's the third time this year that we've agreed with each other, Joanne. But Niamh Kelly is also my pick for Player of the Week. So that's 2 points for Niamh Kelly. Very congested at the top of the leaderboard. You can see it on the article accompanying this podcast as well. Niamh Kelly gets a selection from both Joanne and from Darren. Let's move on to the games this week. We've picked 2 games out. There's probably 3 in particular that you could really look at, but the first one we're going with is Saturday at 6:10. Brisbane Lions against the North Melbourne Kangaroos. Kangaroos are back in form. Brisbane again showed their tactical way that they managed to keep Chloe Malloy out of the game, in particular the last day too. Brisbane are probably there, not fully there yet. Kangaroos still need that one result to make sure that they're going to be in the final 6.
Yeah, 100%. I think you suppose looking at the leaderboard, you think it'd be very hard for Brisbane now to fall out of the top 6. But North, they still could be kind of looking at their next few games. There's still Fremantle to play after this. So 2 tough last round games that they do need to win. I suppose, like you said, the ones below, Melbourne coming up as well. It could be tit for tat for that kind of 6th place. But I still think North should be safe. I feel like, I suppose, in going into next week, that regardless of the results, I would kind of say, oh God, it's still going to be such a good competition to watch, isn't it? Like, you can't really pick and choose. But again, after last week's performance with Brisbane, and I suppose you'd be kind of looking at North's performance all year, that, they've been showing glimpses, I suppose, of how well they can play and how well they can kind of close teams down, like last week, for example. But then you've seen games that you'd think that they would walk away with, they kind of just didn't really show up. So I feel like they're definitely getting into fine form now, and it would take a big ask for any team to beat them. But I feel like Brisbane are just kind of, especially after the win, they're becoming inconfident after beating or breaking Collingwood's streak there. So there'll definitely be a team to reckon with, and I think even they'll be pushing nearly one of the favourites for the finals this year.
Like, we've talked about the close games, and there's another game we'll talk about when we do our second one. Before the Kangaroos, in my feeling, they got completely snuffed out of it against Collingwood a few weeks back. Now, they've bounced back. They've responded following 2 losses. But would it be fair to say that we might learn in this game, regardless of the results, how much the Kangaroos have learned from that Collingwood game?
Yeah, definitely. I think it will be a telltale, whether Brisbane get ahead at all, will North kind of lie down. And I suppose, like you said, that Collingwood game was a massive shock, and it kind of probably did knock them back a bit. But like you said, since then they've kind of come back flying, and they've kind of, I suppose, reconciled what they kind of did wrong, and they're kind of gelling that way better as a team. At times, they're very rash, and they kind of don't nearly look as tactically as Brisbane do. Like, there is kind of big balls forward, which it is in a lot of the games, but Brisbane seem that way. But, everybody kind of knows their role, and they're kind of all set out to do a certain thing. So it will be very interesting. Like you said, regardless of the result, it will be a big set in stone for the final 6 and kind of who they're going to get drawn against. So it'll be definitely good to see.
Brisbane were deserving winners against Collingwood for the way they pretty much took Brie Davey and Chloe Malloy out of the contest. But the great thing for them too, Joanne, is that they let Collingwood back in the game. They have a lot to take out of that match as well. They dug out the results. They held on to it, maybe, is a fair assessment. Yeah. And they'll be looking at top 2 now as well. Could the scare they got at the end help the Lions, maybe keep their focus in?
Yeah, I definitely think, I suppose, even regardless of what game you play, it's nearly sometimes hard chasing a lead, keeping a lead, especially against such a good team like Collingwood. And it was very close. You weren't kind of at any point thinking Brisbane's going to get away with this here. So I definitely feel that, yes, they'll be confident. It's a fantastic win to get, but I don't think they're going to be complacent going into this round. They still want to push on. I think even, it does determine, I think the top 2 go straight through, and the other 4 might play off. So it will be definitely interesting that they'll be kind of trying to hold on for that top 2 spot, I would say. So I think that'll be a massive goal for them this year.
Brisbane are back at home after the venue was changed pretty much last minute last week. They did go to Collingwood, making it even more impressive, their results. Who's going to win this game? Brisbane continue their stroll towards the top, or and the Kangaroos get that crucial result to guarantee their place?
I feel like North have a lot to play for, more so than Brisbane, but I feel Brisbane's going to be very, very hard to beat at the same time. So I'll go for Brisbane for this week. Sorry, Eileen.
Brisbane Lions getting the nod there. Aileen Gilroy will put in a player of the match performance despite us next week. The other game we're looking at is 7:10 on Sunday morning. So, we might consider getting up for live with this one. The Fremantle Dockers against the Melbourne Demons. Before I talk about Melbourne, you touched on it there as well. Are the Dockers that ruthless machine that you want to cheer against but still feel they'll be good enough to get the job done?
Yeah, I feel like even there was a touch of it last year when we were out, that Fremantle, I think the way that they had it, obviously because they're up in Perth, they didn't play, I suppose, the better teams as put down in Melbourne. And I think, now when it's coming back and it's coming to the last six, a few teams are kind of starting throwing up that they did get to play West Coast again. But they are that team that kind of are like, we're not afraid of anybody, and let us prove to you that we're going to do this. So I think that's kind of the relentlessness showed at the weekend against Carlton, and they kind of put down a marker for the rest of the competition that they're not going to be easily kind of pushed over. But again, Melbourne have a lot more to play for than Freo do at this stage, so you're kind of thinking they're going to take a lot more. You've seen the hits that goalie had at the weekend. I think it's going to be two fearless teams kind of going at each other, so it'll definitely be an interesting one.
We were talking about Melbourne last week, like they were running the gauntlet with the games they had, and especially after a bit of bad form, but they did hit back a good victory, a good result as well, 43-15 against Adelaide.
Absolutely. I think I was definitely one shocked. I think Adelaide were kind of coming into themselves and they were getting in nice form. That I thought they were going to be very hard to stop. Their momentum was building up, and especially after the performances of Melbourne the last few weeks. But I suppose when you're when your back's against the wall and these are must-win games, either team's going to come out on top and kind of come out fighting, or they just shy away. And Melbourne definitely come out fighting and completely shut Adelaide up. Like I said, the likes of Anne Hartshard, them ones that are massive high performers, were very quiet. It was just unusual, and they just done well marked up and well matched up. I think they just kind of got the nail on the head with the Crows at the weekend, and so it'll definitely be interesting to see this weekend, especially when I suppose Freo they're kind of sitting top two. They mightn't care as much, maybe, I suppose, about winning this as much as Melbourne do. So it's definitely a must win again for them. So
for Freo, I don't think there's any dispute in Ciara Bauer's consistency over the whole campaign so far. She's an established name. For Melbourne, Lauren McGee, I felt it was her best game of the year so far. She was getting a bit more time as well. She's really, you kind of wish she'd probably another 5 rounds now to really establish herself in this team.
Yeah, I think it's so unfortunate whenever, I suppose at the time with the All-Ireland and stuff, that she didn't get that practice, and game time, it was so much different. I remember myself, sometimes you can be kind of like, I'm flying at training, this is great. And I remember coming off nearly crying after the first practice match because I was like, what the hell am I doing? I didn't have a clue. So I completely sympathise with her, although she seems to be, like you said, growing in confidence each week and just taking each game as it comes. And I think even looking at the other Irish girls, she can only kind of inspire to be kind of like, well, you know what, if they're doing it, I can do it. So she should take away every compliment, because she is coming on each game and she seems to just be driving at it that wee bit more. And I suppose even looking at the likes of Goldie and how she attacks the ball, I think you can kind of see that coming out in Lauren as well. So it's brilliant to see. Hopefully she gets a wee bit more game time, like you said. We
certainly hope so as well. Who's going to win? Are the Dockers going to, like Brisbane, keep up on top, or have the Demons started their comeback?
There's a part of me that is kind of edging towards Melbourne this week. I just feel like Melbourne just is that kind of attitude where they have to win, and not this could kind of push them that way before. You've seen that Freo are definitely a beatable team, I suppose. So you'd be looking and kind of thinking, look, well, Carlton nearly beat them, Melbourne beat Carlton. So you're kind of thinking, well, maybe this is a game for them to take it. So I'm going to tip Melbourne this week. Probably a wee bit controversial, but I'll go for Melbourne.
Melbourne prediction there as well will certainly establish themselves in the top 6 if they get the results. Very quickly, Joanne, we'll run through the other 5 games. Starting Friday, 6:10, the Gold Coast Suns against Carleton. You mentioned this earlier on. To give themselves an outside chance, Carleton have to put the boot down here.
Yeah, definitely. I think they'll be looking at this, and again, like, I don't think they're in any position to be anyway complacent, but at the same time, you'd be looking at this as definitely an opportunity to get a win on the board and get themselves at least any chance of getting back into the top 6. So I'd say Carleton come out top there.
And of course, if Carleton or the Giants, who we're going to talk about next, start to get back in the mix, the percentage score is going to be important. 2:10 on Saturday, the Greater Western Sydney Giants are away to the Geelong Cats.
Yeah, definitely another winnable opportunity for the Giants as well to get like you said, keep crawling back up that board. And again, like when you see coming against Geelong, who have they even got a win this year at all? I don't think they have. That you'll be trying to get the scores up as much as possible to get that percentage up. So yeah, again, I go with Giants for this one. Yeah.
Probably a perfect game for Collingwood to bounce back from their first loss. St Kilda, their race is run after a 5th defeat. Collingwood at home against St Kilda at 4:10 on Saturday.
Yeah, I think I suppose I was a wee bit shocked at how St Kilda went down after a really good opening campaign. But yeah, I'd say Collingwood will be fighting to get back at it. So yeah, again, I'll go with Carleton for this one.
If there's been a bottom 4 in this competition, well, this is the game to decide the winners of that competition. Richmond Tigers have had 2 wins. West Coast Eagles have had 2 wins. They play on Sunday at 1:40.
I think this will actually be a really, really good game to watch, actually. Richmond, like I said, have just been seemingly coming into the groove a wee bit more, but I feel like a lot does go through the likes of Katie Brennan. So I feel if West Coast can stop her, it's definitely another opportunity for them to get this 3rd win. So I'm going to stick with the Irish girls and go with West Coast this one.
And they have been leading the charts for West Coast. I deliberately left this one to last. It was hard to leave this out of our feature too. Adelaide against the Western Bulldogs. We just talked about Adelaide's loss to the Demons. The Bulldogs clinging on. Now they're on 16 points. They still have a decent chance here, but they're looking for 2 wins, and the first one has to come on Sunday. 5:10 Adelaide against Bulldogs.
Yeah, again, like you said, something about teams that, when they're backs against the wall, and Bulldogs are, I think we kind of talk a lot about Carleton coming back up, but Bulldogs have any chance of getting into that top 6 as they do. So again, after Adelaide's heavy defeat last week, they'll be kind of looking to push on, and it's both of these are kind of must-win games for both of these teams. So it's going to be very, very hard to tell, but I feel like Adelaide will just come out on top. I feel like they have a lot of experience, but I feel like maybe hopefully I'm wrong, but no, I think it'll be a very good game to watch as well. So.
And that was Joanne Doonan previewing round 8 of the AFL Women's Series with us. And congratulations to Sinéad Kelly, who is both our pick for Irish Player of the Week. Let's look at the fixtures for this weekend. Starting tomorrow, 6:10 a.m. Irish time, Gold Coast Suns versus the Carleton Blues. Then there's 3 games on Saturday, 2:10 a.m. Geelong Cats take on the Greater Western Sydney Giants. Collingwood looking to get back to winning ways when they host St Kilda at 4:10 a.m. And then one of our featured games, Brisbane Lions against the North Melbourne Kangaroos. Orla O'Dwyer versus Aileen Gilroy. That's at 6:10 in the morning. And then 3 more games on Sunday. Richmond Tigers host the West Coast Eagles, 1:40 a.m. Some of you might fancy staying up late for that one. Adelaide Crows against the Western Bulldogs. That's at 5:10 a.m. And then finishing out with the other game we featured, the Fremantle Dockers against the Melbourne Demons. 7:10 in the morning on Sunday. Worth getting up early for, I would feel. Thank you very much to Joanne for joining us, and also earlier on the new LGFA President Mícheál Naughton, who chatted to us as well. That's it for the show this week. Just to let you know, this week's guest on the Fair Green is Kerry defender Ciara Murphy, the SportsDaz Footballer of the Year. Make sure you check out the show. We'll be back again next week. Will we have news on return to play? Who knows? We will be talking AFL as it gets down to the final round robin phase, and we find out the last 6 players. We'll have updates on games from AFL the weekend, including Brisbane against the North Melbourne and Fremantle against the Melbourne Demons. That's it for this week. Hope you enjoyed the show. I'm Darren Kelly, and this was SportsDaz Football.